can you give us a little bit of history, just about how you guys, just your personal history, you and your partner there, and how you got into Bitcoin. I remember being kind of surprised when you told us that was your first Bitcoiners you had talked to in real life. So would love to hear more of the backstory of what brought you to the town that you're in now, and then you can fill us in on the details of the project.
Yeah, sure. So around the time that we met, which was,
I'm sorry. So why don't you just start by introducing yourself, because some of the people have just been joining. So yeah, introduce yourself first, and then jump into it.
Okay, great. My name is Glenn Uester. I'm from Swellendam in South Africa. I am the founder and run Bitcoin Ubuntu. I also volunteer for a few other Bitcoin-oriented education projects. We actually met, I think it was the December before last. It was around Christmas time that we met Paco and Mike Peterson for the first time, myself and Kathy. We'd just recently moved here to Swellendam from closer to Cape Town, the city, out into a country town here. Post lockdowns, we wanted to get away from all the madness that was the city, and in doing that, we were both kind of looking for new occupations. Really, we were both looking to pivot to do something new, and I'd long been looking for an opportunity to work or do something in the Bitcoin space. I'd been a Bitcoiner for a while. I'd come across Bitcoin like most people. I was trying desperately for a place to store my value, in the hope that one day I could have like a roof over my head. And the longer I was trying to save, the further away that dream was getting, until I stumbled across Bitcoin. And that kind of changed everything for me from that perspective. And I really, started to fall down the rabbit hole. But it took a good few years before I reached the point of conviction that I felt it necessary to become more vocal about it. So up until that point, I've just been in a non-Bitcoiner on Twitter, reposting this and that and memeing along with the best of them. But felt like, especially post-lockdowns, that I needed to do something more. I just didn't know exactly what. And then when I met yourself and Paco, you guys passed through there. I can't remember exactly what it was Paco said to me at that lunch, but it was enough to kind of just nudge me into doing a bit more. And so I kind of followed you guys down to Mossel Bay and saw Bitcoin Economies and the incredible work that they were doing there for them. And for myself, for the first time, I'd been following them probably since the beginning, but that was the first time we actually went and saw it. And that whole it was just inspiring. From meeting you guys to everybody in Adikasi, it was just like a light bulb moment for me.
So just to refresh my memory, so and just to clarify for people, because we have a Paco here on our team. You're talking about Paco de India.
Right.
No, just
Paco de la India.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So he was actually the connection, right? He was the one that had connected with you, correct?
100%, yes.
Okay, and you at that time had been trying to fly under the radar and were kind of wanting to remain anonymous. And I think it was Paco that was kind of pushing you that you needed to, to step out and lead this thing, and that was going to require you to be a little bit more public about things. Is that correct?
Yeah. I wouldn't even say it was a push so much as a gentle, loving nudge. Great Bitcoiner, Paco, and I think he's changed so many lives during his journey around the world. So shout out to him. I'm not sure I would have started this if it wasn't for that.
Just that Mike was traveling with Paco last year. They were buddy in all the conference.
we joked that he was following me around because every country I would show up to, Paco would be there, and so yeah, we were like in I don't know 6 or 7 different countries together. So yeah, Paco has a sweet place in our hearts here. He's a great guy. So and so great at connecting. We never would have connected with you without him. So so sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I just wanted to throw that flavor in there.
No, for sure. Definitely shout out to Paco. Like I say, I'm not sure that I would have started Bitcoin Ubuntu if it weren't for that little nudge. So I really appreciating him, like just taking time out of that, and of course you as well, for making the stop here, taking time out of your guys' journey just to stop and spend some time with a random pleb. It was a pivotal moment for me. That's the last 2 years have been very different ever since, and I've learned a great deal in that time, having kind of thrown myself into the deep end of being a public Bitcoiner. Up until that point, I was pretty much an introvert, to be honest, not a very social person at all, stuck very much a homebody. So definitely pushed myself out of my comfort zone and haven't looked back since, despite all the challenges that come along. Like you said earlier, with a soccer club, it didn't go quite the way I'd envisioned it. I'm still in contact with them, and they still have a stack of sats that they're hodling for dear life. They don't even want to part with those sats for salaries, despite my own protests at the time. But there's been plenty of other opportunities here in terms of onboarding other people. There's been people that have needed help in one way or another, have contacted us since. I've managed to find opportunities elsewhere, but I'm still kind of looking for that local group or team or project that would work, would be a suitable platform to introduce Bitcoin into circulation. That's what was my big hope with the soccer club. And for a while, it looked like that was actually going to work. We had the volunteers were being paid in Bitcoin. They were learning about Bitcoin. And unfortunately, just the staff turnover was so high. And the couple of guys that we made good progress with just didn't stay. And between that and management changing, and that all's just kind of, didn't pan out how I'd hoped. So still looking for somebody in that community to take the reins with me, help me drive this thing, help drive education on that side of the road.
Yeah, I know those things. It's we always joke it would be very easy to do Bitcoin circular economies if you didn't have to deal with the people. It's yeah, that's the thing about humans. It's that's where the magic happens. That's what makes it so special and so amazing, but also so challenging. That you've got different strong personalities, and especially in the Bitcoin space. We see, a lot of times, great people, awesome people, but, that just see things differently, and sometimes it just doesn't work out to work together. So don't take that as a failure at all. That's just kind of comes with the territory.
That's a very valuable lesson. You'll see from my pinned post is often the one that reads, you can lead a man to Bitcoin, but you can't make him think. And that's been the realization that I've had to come to, is that not everybody's going to have that passion to explore Bitcoin to the point of understanding it with the same, the same level of passion and conviction as somebody who gets it. And there's just no ways to force that. You can try until you're blue in the face. If the person's not ready, they're not ready.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to still, I'm still searching for that person or that group of people that are ready and primed. And they are out there. They're just not necessarily next door to me. So, I've been working, for example, with the Lokshans in Khayelitsha. That's one of the graduates from Bitcoin Data, and helping them go through like a Bitcoin diploma course. So those kind of opportunities have presented themselves here and there. I've helped with a similar thing, a program in Kenya. But, I'm desperately still kind of trying to find that one at home. It's all well and good me onboarding merchants, but if I'm the only Bitcoiner here, it's not enough to support those merchants. I need, Bitcoin to start coming into the economy and working its way around the community. I can't be the only guy going to the bookshop and the only guy going to the butcher.
Yeah.
We need more Bitcoin.
No, that's always the challenge, especially when you're trying to get the ball rolling in the early stages. And if I remember right, it's Swellingdom, right? Am I saying that right?
Swellendam, yeah. For
Swellingdom.
some reason, the Americans seem to struggle with that one. Swellendam.
It's Swellingdom. It's a pretty small town, correct?
Yes, and that's something else I have to realize kind of the hard way. This is a tiny little town. So, if 1 in 1,000 people is interested in Bitcoin, you don't have a huge amount of
Which
people.
that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, El Zante, where we started, is a very small town of 3,000, and so obviously different dynamics and the made it a little bit easier where we're at than probably what you're facing. But sometimes those small towns that are kind of removed from everywhere else, it actually can lead to better actually circulation of Bitcoin within the community. Once you can kind of get that first, over that first hump and get that momentum going. And so it's finding how Bitcoin meets needs in that specific community. And so it sounds like you're having challenges getting people in the local community to see their need from Bitcoin. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, and I think a mix of things come into play there, and probably the chief among them is that we're not born and bred here. We're new to the community. People are still getting to know us. There's the trust takes time to build, and then you've also had however many scams, Bitcoin and crypto scams that have torn through here ahead of us. So most people, the moment they hear Bitcoin, just think you're a scammer. So you've got both of those challenges here. The community is not as small as 3,000. I think it's probably closer to between 16 and 20,000, depending on which districts are being measured. But we got Witsand next door, which is way smaller, but like they have a per capita adoption. I think that holds probably a world record. But that also didn't happen overnight. That took Edwin, I think, the better part of 5 years to get to where it is today. So, yeah.
And how far are you from them? That was who I was confusing with at first. My apologies. Sometimes I should have prepared better, but I was thinking that it was Witsand that we were doing today. But I'm glad you reminded me of our history together. But yeah, how far from you guys are they?
They're about a 40-minute drive or so, so not too far.
They are pretty close.
Yeah. So when they have pizza days or get-togethers, we often able to go through and join them for that. And we go through there on weekends. It's a close enough to go for a weekend outing. It's great to be able to just do it all in Bitcoin. You can go on top of your gas there. You can get pretty much, you can live on Bitcoin there, which you can do here as well, but not as kind of peer-to-peer and circular as they've already got going there. Here you've got to, lean on Pick and Pay and those sort of things a little bit more.
I'm just curious, have you like tried bringing done any outings to Witsand and to bring people from Swellendam to see how things operate there? I find sometimes when people can see that, it helps spark something.
Yeah, we have. We took the soccer club, the coaches at the time. We went with 4 of the soccer club members, and then the other times that we've gone through, we've had an open invitation on our group. We've got a local group chat, which I'm not sure. I haven't looked for a while, but there's probably about 3 dozen people on there, but maybe only half of those are actually local. And nobody's yet taken us up on the invitation to join us on one of those. To Mossel Bay as well, we've offered free lifts to those that want to come along, but we haven't had any bites.
How about for the conference that's in Cape Town? Did you guys go last year, or do you have any plans to bring folks this year?
We did, yeah. I was fortunate enough to fill in for that some people's visas were cancelled. That got to speak with Paco and got to spend a bit of time with him again, which was fantastic. And definitely plan to go next year. I was kicking myself this year because I didn't go for the road trip. I joined them in Witsands, and this year I'd like to just do the whole journey. Because I was kicking myself every day that I was seeing people post about that trip. So if you guys are going, I would definitely recommend that you consider staying for that extra couple of days or whatever it is to go to Witsands and Mossel Bay. It'll be well worth the time.
Well, we'd love to see you be able to bring some folks to that conference this year. So if we can help with tickets or other things, I found that's super important. It helps people see the global nature of Bitcoin. It helps them get excited, and and for especially if you're bringing somebody that's maybe not had an opportunity to travel or to get outside of the local community. It's just a great growing experience for them in that. So as you guys get closer to the conference time, maybe be thinking about that, and then just send me what that would take to make that happen, and we'll coordinate with Armand because I feel like that can be a huge, for us, that was really how things jumped off. Was early on, we took some of the members on the team to a conference in Uruguay, and that I felt like kind of lit a fire under them and helped them just understand that this isn't just some little pet project. This is a global movement, and there's lots of very serious and educated people that are big believers in Bitcoin and have gone all in. And so I felt like it really made a difference.
Hey guys, so I think it would be nice if you can tell us a little bit about how many years you have been trying building these Bitcoin circle economies. What are the challenge that you're facing now? What are the things that you're finding that are pushing back? That you will probably need more help, more support, like the things that you're struggling, because we have here in the audience people that work in technology, developers. Herman is here for Bitcoin Akasi, so it would be nice to hear your challenge, and start opening the mic and hearing from the people. Maybe we can help each other, and this is part of the space too. So.
Yeah, excellent questions. The biggest challenge for me at the moment is looking for help. Really, I feel half the time like, well, I'm running it on my own here. So what I've realized is that at the end of the day, it comes to education or the signal that I'm sending out. And so I've been working on that, improving on my own educating skills, speaking skills, to the point where we've had a couple of local workshops in like um, Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. We'll be doing one now in October on cold storage. Um, and I would like to do the Trezor Academy. And the reason I want to do these kind of local meetups and workshops is to build up that network and try and find people that are interested enough, that have that passion to learn more, that wants to come to these things, wants to learn more, wants to share the information with others, so that I'm not the only lone Bitcoin lunatic here. Which is, I think, very much how Edwin was feeling in BitSons at one point when we first met. He was like, I'm so glad I found you, because now I'm not the one crazy Bitcoiner anymore. So I'm looking for that second guy. I don't know, you've probably seen that video of, that one guy dancing, and then the second guy joins him. And then the party really gets started after that. So I'm kind of still searching for that second person to kind of take this ball and run with me.
And what did you find when you were working with the soccer team and you were paying the salaries in Bitcoin? Did you feel like they were getting it, or I think from what I remember, it wasn't necessarily Bitcoin related things that made that go sideways, but it was more just differences of vision. And but I'm just curious on the Bitcoin front, how you saw that.
Definitely, it depended on the individual. So, for example, the founder, Isaac Kivitz, he was one of the beneficiaries of a salary. Just even to today, he's the only really consistent person there. He's the founder. He's been there for, I guess, more than 12 years or something now, that he's been working with the kids, and on and off more or less on his own. Like today, basically, he's back to almost square one. He doesn't have a reliable team around him. And so that's the guy that I was obviously hoping to orange pill originally, but I had to come to the realization that it's just not going to happen anytime soon with Isaac. Whereas the two volunteer coaches that were the longest standing, that was Simpiwe and Anelli. Anelli was still at school. He was a matriculant. He was probably the most passionate out of the lot of them that were. There was a fair number of people who were introduced to Bitcoin through this, almost year that we spent working with them. There was a lot of people that came through there, and some were more interested than others. And Ellie was, for me, the most promising prospect. He wanted to go and study IT after he matriculated, but he didn't know how he would be able to afford it. So I thought he was going to be a perfect fit. But he, along with some Piwe, when things fell apart at the club, moved out of town. I've seen his back. I've invited him on the 2 or 3 occasions that I've run into him to come and chat to me again, but he hasn't come back to me, unfortunately. But he was getting it, I think. And some Piwe, I don't know, unfortunately, a lot of these guys just don't have a basic education, and that's what's lacking. That needs to be worked on first. But Bitcoin is just like a step too far, because they just don't have the basics yet. And that was the case for that's very much the case with Isaac, and less the case, but still a problem with some Piwe. And then there were a couple of other people that were. Some of the ladies, for example, seemed to take more of an interest. Definitely Simpiwe's wife, Judy, she used to come and do the Bitcoin diploma with us. She was very interested in learning more. But again, they've moved up. I believe they've moved back up to the Eastern Cape. So that was the other problem that I ran into, was just you would put in 2, 3, 4 months working with someone, helping them through the process of learning, and then they would be gone, and you'd have to start over with somebody new.
And is that typical for people to be that transient, or was it just like people had moved there because of COVID and then they were moving back to where they're originally from, or do you feel like that's an ongoing issue that you'll have to deal with?
It was specifically related, I think, to the management, unfortunately, of the club and the unrealistic expectations that were being placed on the volunteers because they were being paid. So they were only being paid for the few hours that they were theoretically expected to volunteer, but because they were being paid, the soccer board was placing really unrealistic expectations on those guys, which is the main reason that they quit.
Okay. Well, Armand, if you're available to speak, would just be curious as to your take to some of the challenges that they're facing there, versus what you've learned with Akasi.
Herman, how you keep away the shitcoiners?
That's a good question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I think what Glenn is talking about is a very real challenge. It's incredibly difficult to start without trust in the community, and that just there's no shortcut to building that kind of trust. I'm we're quite fortunate with the Akasi project that we had a pre-existing non-profit that we had a social development program that we could build on. It would have been close to impossible or very difficult to start the Akasi project without that. And to build a project like that from scratch is super challenging. So I think what Glenn is trying to do is really to try and do two things at the same time. It's building a circular economy, but then in order to do that, it's kind of building the social project at the same time, because you need the one to kind of fuel the other, and that is incredibly difficult. I visited once when they still had the soccer club on board, and then we chatted a little bit after. That sort of wasn't the case anymore, and the fact that he's still out there trying to make it happen speaks volumes. So I think one way or another, you just gotta find that right combination, and but it is really difficult. I mean, there's one or two projects that have managed to do that, but it's been very, very, very tough going. The project up in Ghana, Bitcoin Dua, also had a really tough time starting off trying to build this sort of social project from scratch as the engine to drive the circular economy. So yeah, it's not easy. I mean, it's really not easy to do. So I take my hat off to you that you still out there trying to make it happen. And yeah, I wish there was more that we could do to help. We should probably come through again at some point. We just had the team up in the Eastern Cape. They went to attend a funeral of a relative of one of the shop owners whose shop burned down, and maybe next up they should make a trip through to Swellendam. I know we did that. Or you guys were here some time ago, but maybe we should definitely try and organize something like that again, because it's like Mike said, I think that physical contact can do a lot, So, whether it's coming through to the conference next year, which you guys definitely should do, try and bring some people from Swellendam, or whether it's, us visiting your side or you guys visiting this side, we should try and see what we can do, because it works to our advantage that there's two other initiatives close by, yourself and Vitsant, and we should use that to our advantage.
So for those of you, most of you probably know Herman from Bitcoin Akasi, but in addition to running that great program, he's also spearheaded for us the distribution of a number of grants in Africa. And so I think we've given 2 or 3 Bitcoin away, like through his efforts at this point. And so he's worked with a lot of these projects. He's seen the challenges that they face, and how much harder it is to start something from scratch versus to start with an existing, nonprofit or community development thing. And so that's one thing we continue to wrestle with is trying to find the best way. And there's not a one way that works everywhere, but we have found in general it's much easier if you start with an existing program that's not currently using Bitcoin, and then help them turbocharge their efforts by integrating Bitcoin into that. But that obviously requires buy-in from the founder or the lead on that project, which is sometimes very challenging. So, what you want to put some more color to that, Herman, of what you found from the projects that you've helped distribute grants to there in Africa?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, you kind of you really want to try and orange pill the person who runs the program that you're going after. I mean, in our case, it was but it wasn't really necessary to do that, because I mean I was on the team that was running the project that we ended up using. But if you're going to go out and approach other nonprofits, then you really need to get to the person who's really running the operation, and that's really challenging. But I think the more time I spend doing this, the more I see that as the real sort of, if I can call it, kind of like mission that I'm after. Really, is to try and get to as many charity organizations, and try and get them on board with thinking about Bitcoin, because really so much of the work they do is kind of putting band-aids on problems that comes down to bad money. So really what charity should be doing is looking at fixing the money first, I think. And so I've been trying to speak to as many charities as possible, but it's super challenging. It's not easy to approach that. And I mean, the one thing that was really encouraging about Bitcoin Ubuntu is that they had this. They managed to connect with this existing soccer club. It's unfortunate that it didn't work out, but there will be other opportunities like that again, I believe. And one just has to keep trying and get to that person.
Yeah, we have another charity project here, Bethel Farm, that's also accepting Bitcoin, and we've been working with them. There's still not that kind of passion to learn more. They're just seeing it more as a
as a funding option.
Yeah.
Oftentimes it starts like that, and then once they begin to understand it more, they get orange pilled despite themselves.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I'm still in touch with the soccer club. It's not like I've written them off or anything. At some points you might find the right team comes together there, and then they're primed and they're ready. They're already introduced. They already have a little stack that they're still hodling. So we don't know what the next year or two brings, and I'm waiting for opportunities. I'm not going away. And over the last year and a half, I've started to have people approach me now for help with merchants accepting Bitcoin, and I expect that'll continue to grow over the coming years as more and more people grok that they need Bitcoin. They're going to need help and some handholding, and that's what we're here for, right? In part,
Definitely.
at least.
Well, what I'm going to open in a minute. I'm going to open it up to both questions, but also, I know we have a number of people from other Bitcoin circular economy projects here in the space. So if we're going to invite them too, if they want to just share like similar issues they've had, or if they have any helpful words for you guys, we'll invite them up also. But
we have here also Arnold. Arnold had been spending a lot of time in Africa, and he's currently working with My First Bitcoin. So it would be nice to, Arnold, if you can come and share a little bit about what you guys are doing and how you can help all these Bitcoin circular economies.
Oh yeah, I love the guys from My First Bitcoin. We are registered as a light node. We contribute to that project. I've been presenting the course online to remote learners, and I'll be continuing to do that, and hopefully just get better and better at it. Hopefully, over the coming months, you'll see some recordings posted online of some of those online classes, and we can get it to the point where somebody can basically do it self-paced from home. That's one of the projects that I'm really most excited about is My First Bitcoin. I think that access to free quality Bitcoin education is it's fundamental. There's no ways to help people understand Bitcoin if we can't give them access to quality information. And just in my short time volunteering with that organization in terms of presenting that diploma course online with Felix Makunga's The Core, and then recently with the Lokshuns in Kailicha, it's unreal the kind of snowballing of education projects that are now springing up as a result of that initiative. There must be dozens of them now all over the world. Oh, here's Arnold. Arnold, hi.
Hey, Glenn. Yeah, I was just about to say, like, you didn't highlight it so much, but I'm glad you did, because what you've been doing with Felix is fantastic. First, to just help him with all the cohorts and all the classes, making the slides, putting it open source, and then after that, starting it yourself and Luxian and inspiring others. So you say like dozens of educational projects. Just to maybe dive into that, right now we have 49 projects that are teaching from our Bitcoin diploma. Well, of course, Ekazi Ubuntu, but I see Yes Bitcoin Haiti as well in the spaces. Bitcoin Dua as well. Pedro from Dominicana as well. So this is what I like the most about it. Maybe is all these individual projects just doing this together, sharing resources. If one project needs a teacher, they'll take it from the other. If one is struggling with something specific, they can ask another project. So I wouldn't call it necessarily like My First Bitcoin that's doing this, but it's the collective of everyone that's making this awesome. And yeah, I'm very grateful that I can work with all the nodes in the network on international expansion. But yeah, the nodes themselves, the projects, they should be highlighted the most, if you ask me. And then I'm glad to facilitate with learning management systems, Google Classrooms, materials, lesson plan guides, whatever they need. But it's all the individual educators that are really making a difference. So yeah. I'm happy to elaborate more, Roman, but yeah.
No, I just have a question for you, Arnold, because you have been seeing the two realities, like Africa and El Salvador, and you're here. You have been spending a lot of time here in El Salvador. So based on your experience, how we can be more helpful. What are the lessons that we're learning here in El Salvador that we can apply to other continents, other communities, other Bitcoin circle economies?
Well, I think the most important thing would be that in El Salvador, you guys, Bitcoin Beach, and later my first Bitcoin, we set up like a first foundation, and then when things are necessary, you can scale up. And with necessary, that could be legal tender or anything else. And I think that's so important that we have similar projects in every country, like South Africa with Ubuntu, Akazi, and the others, that as soon as things are needed to scale up, when the opportunity is there, that we have the foundation set up with all the individual educators. So that's, I think we're still so early, it's just the beginning. And just like how in El Salvador, we've been teaching 30,000 students so far with the Minet, with you guys, Bitcoin Beach. I think it's just only an example for everyone else that you could be the next project to teach 30,000 students in your country when things get better. So we're just all changing in our own country. And I think we can dream bigger than maybe we start in our local community, but we're allowed to think bigger than that. And as soon as we realize that, we make everything open source, we collaborate, and we find synergy, whether it's with other nodes in the network, other projects, then we're really making a difference. So that's what I would say. Nothing specifically about like Africa versus El Salvador, but rather like, yeah, we're still early in El Salvador. It's just a bit further ahead, and I think there's a leadership role for everyone that's educating today.
Roman, do you want to open it up for questions or people from other
Sure.
circular economies to speak?
Yes, yes, yes. We have here Luis, and then we go to Juan. Luis, how you doing?
Yes, hello. Good afternoon or good morning from everywhere in the world. Yes, my name is Luis and I am Salvadoran.
Nice. Are you in El Salvador?
Uh, no, but it's funny because I was brought to the US at a very young age, not even 5. And now I want to go back for the same reasons that we left because it's not safe here in the US anymore. And Bitcoin helps people make that transition. The problem, of course, is the education. I've been using Bitcoin since before 2017. And just now I realize that the future is Bitcoin and the future is El Salvador for many reasons. And the circular economy to me starts with your family because you need the trust. I've done it. I built a house over there with my mom. I would send her Bitcoin through the Chivo wallet, or when I would go over there and help, I would encourage her to use Chivo wallet. And then other people started using it because she was using it. So it starts with the family, and because it takes time for people to trust. But if people are already working and it's more convenient for them to use their Chivo wallet, which they never use because nobody asks them if they use it, then yeah, a lot of people will not use it because they don't understand it. They don't understand it because they fear it. When you fear something, you're not going to use it. But it's all about education and educating people in the right way, but the right way is not always the same way for everybody. One thing I do remember is speaking to older gentlemen, and they understand their phrases. You know, the banks just steal our money, and that's when I correlated Bitcoin to them and saying, well, Bitcoin, if you use Bitcoin and not the bank, now you're the bank, and you don't have to worry about the banks, because that's how you start the circular economy. Because I am going down there. I've already started my business down there. My business, Lead Tech SV, and I want to start selling solar lights and modular prefabricated homes, because people need homes over there, especially the ones that live here in the US and are doing the same thing that I'm doing, is going back and building a home. But that takes too long. 2 years, you don't have enough workers. I think one of your podcasts, you talked about that there's a lot of demand for skilled workers because the quality is not the same as in the US. Well, I could help with that, because with prefab homes, most of that is done. But I still have created jobs with that. So if you are come here, you need to create jobs for the people and ask them if they accept Bitcoin or their Chivo wallet. And then that's how you get started. Thank you for your
Yeah.
time.
Thank you, Luis. Looking forward to connect when you are visiting El Salvador. And we have here Juan. How you doing, Juan?
Hey, hello. Can you hear me well?
We can hear you. Yes.
All right. So I joined late, so I don't know what you want me to share for the audience.
Well, you're a podcaster. You interview people. I think will be a good commitment from you to do an interview with all these Bitcoin circular economies. And if you can share a little bit about your podcast, you have been interviewing like projects around the world, and today we're talking about Bitcoin Ubuntu in South Africa. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, I have interviewed some people from Africa, and their job, it's quite amazing, actually. Um, Even you guys. I mean, what can I say? So, I'm Juan. I'm the host of Bitcorner, one of the El Salvador's Bitcoin podcasts. I'm just joining forces with the great job that you guys do, and everyone else, right? So, um, yeah, happy to connect with everyone that want to join to the podcast. I mean, the the Bitcoiner podcast, it started as an idea of um, creating a bridge between languages, right? So, because when I started learning about Bitcoin, of course, I started reading a lot, but also I consume a lot of podcasts. One of them was Max Stacy when they have their own podcast, yours, Mike, and Peter McCormack, and all these great guys. But what I noticed is that all the information, most of the information, is in English. So I was thinking, all right, so in El Salvador, when we made a legal tender and we start to see all these great efforts like Mi Primer Bitcoin and Cubo Plus, we saw that we had great information. So we needed more content that the ones that we have in English, but also in Spanish. So how can we do that? But in the same time, I was thinking, but I want to bring these people that they are that the ones that are doing great job in research and etc. Right. So what I thought, it was like, all right, I'm gonna subtitle them, because at the first my idea was to make it all in Spanish, but again it was like, all right, so it will be separated, Spanish and English, and I was like, no, I want uh, to be for everyone. So that's how it started the podcast. So my idea was at first to bring a lot of information for El Salvador and to make the video podcast at least, with subtitles in Spanish. But then, the years have passed and we have seen all these projects, great projects that they are building in El Salvador, like Bitcoin Berlin, for example. Uh, Also, there is there these students, for example, Isis, she's a great student from Cool Plus, and I think the world needs to hear those stories. So uh, let's say that right now the podcast is pivoting, so it's not just bringing and giving information from El Salvador, is also in the other side right now to bring all these beautiful stories that are happening in El Salvador. And of course, the ones that are in El Salvador are in Spanish, but also with English subtitles. So that's the podcast about, and to have fun and learn. So that's it.
Thank you, Juan. You should connect in Bitcoin Ubuntu and make an interview with Juan. And Bitcoin Dua, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. Uh, I'm glad to be at the space now to listen to Bitcoin Ubuntu and also to share a bit of what we've been doing as well at Bitcoin Dua. We had our graduation ceremony last Saturday with our first 50 cohorts. Uh, and because we've been doing robotics at the same time with the class, we decided to invite parents from the those that attended the classes, their parents, to come and experience what the kids have to exhibit, so they could see and appreciate what we've been doing with their kids. And one of the reasons why we decided to bring the parents is for them to get to hear about Bitcoin. And some of them are also business people. They have their shops and all those things, which we believe we will be working with them in the future. So this become a rallying point for us where we can actually bring merchants on board without struggling, because we are already doing something great with their kids, and every parent love to see the child excel in whatsoever they are doing. So I think the response from the parents at the day of the ceremony, the graduation ceremony, was great. The experiences were something that they were so much happy about. And now this is also going to afford us the opportunity to as well extend to reach the various schools by using the very students or kids that we are training in robotics. We want to roll out uh, robotics competition among the schools, which will be sponsored by Bitcoin. And the reason is that indirectly we are getting to all the schools that will be taking part in the competition, talking to them about Bitcoin and knowing that Bitcoin is the one taking the charge in affecting the lives of their children in a positive way. And those kids, as well as we are rewarding them with sats, they are also going to use the same sats to start buying from the merchants or the people that are selling them food and water on their various campuses. So this, we feel this is a big plan that we want to execute, and we are doing it tactically because we have won the confidence of the community. We have been a friend of the community for all these years, and we've been doing a lot with them, and that trust is there. So I would say this is what I have to share with Bitcoin Ubuntu for this night.
Thank you. Did you know each other? Like, did you guys talk about your project, trying to help each other?
No, we haven't had any connection yet.
No, but thank you very much, Bitcoin Dua, and I have heard a lot about you, and I know you often pop into the spaces and listen to the conversations. I hope to see you at Bitcoin in Africa space we do on the 21st. So, like what John was saying about, the conversations and projects in El Salvador being important, and more people should be party to those conversations. We do a similar thing with the Orange Sun, Monday to Friday. We have a space hosted from 8 till 10 South African time in the morning to cater to the whole continent of Africa, because there's so much great work. I mean, look at the space. You've got Bitcoin Dua, you've got Destiny Smart, you've got Bitcoin Haiti, you've got Dueta Bitcoin, all of these fantastic education and circular projects that are popping up across the continent. And so it's just like an open invitation to you guys to come to the morning space, or at least to the monthly space on the 21st, and give us an update like what Bitcoin Dua just shared with us there. Because people are hungry to learn about what's happening here in the world of Bitcoin. And it gives people, like in America, a completely different perspective on this thing that we, So also, just thank you very much, everybody, for the opportunity, the invitation tonight. Bitcoin, Ikasi Harman, I know earlier you said you wish you could do more, but you've done so much for us already. I really appreciate all of the love and support that's come from you guys and your whole team. I mean, you guys have been enormously supportive. Bitcoin Beach were the first to donate, thanks to Bitcoin Ikasi. And we really appreciate all the support all along. Really appreciate it, guys.
Guys, Bitcoin is love. You're doing an amazing job. And Mike, any final thoughts? We're here in 1 hour already, so.
Yeah, just Glenn, if there's any things that, obviously encourage everybody to follow Bitcoin Ubuntu, and follow them on Twitter, donate to them, and then also, I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to see from the community, Glenn, that you would like to ask for, but yeah, I'll let you close us out.
Please, I'd ask you also, if you're going to follow me, please also follow the Orange Sun. The volunteers, it's run by volunteers. So you guys in Africa, if you got even 2 hours spare in the morning, if you're Bitcoin only, working on Bitcoin stuff, and you just got 2 hours to give to the community, come and DM us at the Orange Sun. Come and volunteer as a host or co-host once a week. Just lighten the load for some of the other volunteers, and bring some fresh voice, African voices, to that space. Doesn't have to be African, but just shout out to you guys, please. Give the Orange Sun.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank everybody who. Oh, go ahead, Glenn.
And join the conversation there. And that's it. Thanks again, everyone, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Awesome, Glenn. Well, Glenn, I would just like to encourage you to stick with it. I know these things early on feel like it's hard to get traction, like you're slogging through mud, and then at just some point you hit that like magical acceleration point, but nobody can tell you exactly when it's going to be that you get there, and a lot of people give up before they get to that, unfortunately. So just encourage you to stick with what you're doing, and to not lose hope. Encourage people in the community to come alongside them, and encourage them, or come visit and do things that can have, impact their project in a material way. And we'll definitely keep following up with you. And like I said, let's try to get some people from your community to the conference that Herman's leading there in Cape Town at the end of I guess it's the end of January there. And I just feel like that can have a big impact, and a lot of times that can start the momentum going. And, a lot of times from people you least expect it from, once they get that fire lit under them. So thank you guys, everybody, for joining. And as always, we'll post this on the Bitcoin Beach podcast channels and YouTube if you want to come back and listen to it again, or share it with somebody else. And we will see you guys next week with another project.